Hello and welcome. This is Donald Diorto. So I'm going to go ahead and start. If you could just, and welcome Fiveable. I can see in the chat corner there, so it looks like things are coming in just fine. So we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So welcome to Fiveable. And this is AP World History. This is Teaching Unit 0. And my name is Donald Diorto, and I'll be hosting tonight's teacher presentation. So let's go ahead and get it going. By the way, when you go to Think Fiveable, this is something where you want to check it out on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. They're all available and ready for you. So definitely check them out. We have all kinds of banked video for you. So I can see the chat people in there. Welcome, Eric. Glad you're here. So let's go ahead and jump on in. I just want to let you know that even though it's predated, there's some great webinars that are coming up, like Charlie Castillo that was recorded on 8/24. She's doing Introduction in the AP World. Ali Thiessen, fantastic speaker, also on the 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'll be dealing with Introduction to Historical Reasoning. And Evan Lindel's did his recording on the 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Introduction to Contextualization. So they were coming soon. They're actually recorded for you. So let's go ahead, and you can always tune in on the app at app.fiveable.me. So let's go ahead in. And today our introduction is, what is Unit 0? So we're going to look at 1, what are the introduction? What is Unit 0? 2, what are the essential topics in Unit 0? What is it about? And then 3, how do we integrate Unit 0 right into your current pacing guide? Because we know AP World has changed. Now you're bringing that into that guide. So let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. So of course, what is Unit 0? The time periods for Unit 0, and what are the topics for Unit 0? And hello, Skylar, welcome. So what is Unit 0? Unit 0 just refers to the content in AP World History that used to be, we call it AP World History Classic. And this is from 8000 BCE all the way to 600 CE. Excuse me, not 600 CE, pardon me, 8000 BCE to 1200 CE. 1200 CE is where AP Modern picks up and takes off from there. So the time periods that we're looking at in AP Classic, as Benjamin Freeman refers to it, is Unit 1, Foundations, and Unit 2, the Classical Era, and Unit 3, the Post-Classical Era. So Unit 1 is 8000 BCE to 600 CE. Unit 2 is the Classical Era from 600 CE to 600 BCE to 600 CE. And then Unit 3, the Post-Classical Era from 600 CE to 1200 CE. 1200 CE is where the new AP Modern picks up. So a great source for this, if you want to go back to AP Classic and look at some of this material, is Freemanpedia.com. I'm going to go ahead and type that in for you so you can take a look at it. So there we go. We've got it in. That is the illustrious Freemanpedia. When you go in there, look for AP World Classic, for Classic AP World. He actually has it RIP, rest in peace, AP World Classic. So before we go further though, I'd like to get some feedback and just figure out, for those who have taken AP World in the past, just go ahead and put it in the title there. Have you taken AP World before, or are you taking it right now? So go ahead and if you're a teacher, you can put in there, I teach AP World. So let's go ahead and see how that goes. All right, while we're waiting for that, and you can go ahead and put that in, I've actually taught AP World for the past, this is my 3rd year, so we're going into AP Classic. I did the first 2 years, now I'm doing AP Modern. Excellent, Eric, we have you down as teaching AP World for 5 years, going on 6, so I'm guessing 6 is AP Modern. And Gary's in there, I teach it, fantastic, so I'm presuming you've probably done both in there. What I'd like to ask you is, what is your favorite part of AP World History, what we call Classic, the 8000 BCE to 1200 CE? What's your favorite part? While you're waiting for me, I think for myself, it's the Roman Empire. I absolutely love it. Bringing in the fullness of the Roman Empire, though the Mayan Empire is so close behind there. Classical period, Mauryan, Gupta empires in India, fantastic. Rome, we're talking the Hellenistic empires, Teotihuacan, Pillars of Ashoka, yes. So fantastic, Eric. Gary, fantastic. So we definitely got some people in there in different areas. So tonight we're going to show you how to integrate those areas so that you don't have to be without it. And the great thing about it is that if you're using AP World and you go back to the classic materials, you can use that on an AP exam, even that new AP Modern. And if a reader sees it and they see you've used it right, you can use it as credit. So it's incredibly important. I can see the Greek and Roman also. Those hit the spot. So thank you for feeding in there. Let's go ahead and take you back. So now we're jumping into periodization. So let's show you what that looks like. Unit 1 is foundations. And in the old AP Classic, or as Benjamin Freeman puts it, rest in peace. The World History Periodization by Era in AP World Classic is Unit 1, Foundations. This is 8000 BCE to 600 CE. Unit 2 is Classical Era. That's where I see a lot of people jumping in and going, oh, I love this. This is the Romans, the Greeks, empires. Alexander the Great, Mauryan, Gupta empires, Teotihuacan, the Mayan empires as well. This is classical from 600 BCE to 600 CE. And Unit 3 is post-classical. This is the 600 CE to 1450 CE. Now note, 1200 is where we shift over to, that's where the modern AP World steps in. Okay, so part of Unit 3 is still carried on, but you're breaking from 1200 onward. Unit 4 is the early modern era from 1450 to 1750 CE. Unit 5 is the modern era from 1750 CE to 1900 CE. This is classic industrialization. And then Unit 6, contemporary, 1900 CE to the present, about 2001, more or less. So, and you can see down here the old scale, very periodization. Again, if you go to the Freemanpedia, great spot, just click under AP Classic, you'll see all these great materials. So, here's some possible topics for Unit 0. For instance, when you go in there, you're looking at about when we sit down with some of the top people, and I'd like to ask this question as you're going in. Many of you are either planning Unit 0 or you are in Unit 0, or you might be taking a class where a AP World History teacher is telling you, yes, we need Unit 0. So right now, I'm actually integrating about a 3-week Unit 0, and then we're using some prompts to teach DBQs, SAQs, and LEQs into the 4th and 5th week. What I'd like to ask is, how many weeks are you spending, if any, on AP World Classic? In other words, the Unit 0 that we're creating right now. So feel free to pop that into the chat line. Let me know how long you're spending. Again, I'm doing about 3 weeks, and then we're integrating. So by Labor Day, we've finished with Unit 0, but we're still bringing in important material into DBQ, SAQ, and LEQ topics. So go ahead and drop in, how many weeks are you planning? Or how many weeks have you spent? And we'll go ahead and wait for those to come up. While we're doing those, here's some of your possible topics that you can integrate into a 3-week area. Now, this can vary. Sometimes you're 2 weeks, sometimes you might be more like 4. I've heard of people doing 2 months. I'm not a big fan of 2 months. However, who am I to say? Because we're figuring it out. So there's the Paleolithic and Neolithic era. These are really important. These are the hunter-gatherer versus the agricultural and pastoralism for areas. So 2 weeks. Okay, haven't started class yet. We're on trimesters. So sounds good. I know a number of people doing 2 weeks builds. So Paleolithic and Neolithic eras. Be sure that when you touch on Neolithic, look at the agriculture, but also allow for areas like the Mongolian steppes or in the steppes in Kazakhstan, for instance. They don't grow material, they don't grow agricultural crops well, but they're really great for grazing animals. This is pastoralism that builds in. You can also do the great classical empires, like the Hellenistic period empires, like Greek city-states, Alexander the Great from Macedonia, ancient Rome, the Han and Qin dynasties from China. You can, about 200 something BCE, the Gupta and Mauryan empires from India. Ancient Persia is a great area that you can build into. River valley civilizations, for instance, in Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, the Mesopotamian, Sumerian city-states. You can go into Nile River in Egypt. And then in addition with that, so you can build into that. And the fourth one is eluding me at the moment. I'm looking at my notes. We got Harappa, Nile River Valley. We have the Mesopotamian, Sumerian areas. Oh, and the Huanghe River Valley area in China. So we definitely, Yellow River, awesome. Thank you, Eric. So let's go ahead and continue on. But also so crucial is the world religions. If we don't build into the world religions, then we really have a lot of trouble just understanding why do all these major events occur. For instance, if we see how Constantinople changes in the 15th century CE to Istanbul, if you don't understand Islam, you won't understand why. Likewise with Buddhism and the Silk Roads. So that is incredibly important. I can see people chiming in right now on that. So Hinduism, if we're going to understand the caste system and how the Mauryan and Gupta empires built in there, also with Ashoka, with Buddhism and how that changes India as well and then transports into China and other areas, we have to know about Buddhism. We've got to know about Christianity, Judaism, which builds that, and then from Judaism to Christianity into Islam. Otherwise, we don't understand this. For China, if we're going to understand them, we must understand Confucianism, Taoism under Lao Tzu. We've got to understand, in addition, we have to understand legalism, Han Fei. Otherwise, we're not going to understand the Warring States period and how the Qin and Han dynasties come into being. So we must have those brought in. Also, some key terms you want to touch in: empire, Neolithic, Paleolithic, river valley civilizations. There are a number of others. So let me move on. So here's what I call the foundations that I'm giving my class. I call it binder. And I got to thank a great teacher for coming up with this idea. Foundations is the 8,000 BCE to 1200 CE section. And again, I'm doing about a 3-week with some SAQ, DBQ topics that'll continue onward. So B stands for big geography, the great geographical trends. I for interregional exchanges like the Silk Road going from the Roman Empire all the way through India, through Samarkand, moving all the way through to Han China. And a lot of it is general vocab and class basics. So absolutely, it's a great place to teach things such as you're using pieces or spice tea or inspect. It's a great area to do that. And yes, there is a definite way to get this PowerPoint. I will be sharing it with you at the end of this presentation. So definitely, we will definitely share that with you at the end. Neolithic revolution. This is incredibly crucial. And then we see domestication of plants and animals. So be sure you know pastoralism and agricultural growth, because the two don't necessarily happen in the same way, and not all areas can do agriculture. Some do pastoralism. Go to the Mongolian steppes, great example for that. Empires, we want to look at areas like the Greek, Persia, Rome, the Byzantine, Qin and Han dynasties, Tang dynasty, Mauryan and Gupta empires in India, Ghana in Africa. We can actually tap into Mali as well. Mansa Musa, the Mayan Empire, city-states, and Teotihuacan, incredibly important, and the religions of the river valleys. So make sure we bring in the religions and also river valleys on top of that. So remember religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, legalism, Zoroastrianism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and also the 4 river valley civilizations: Mesopotamia, Egypt, Shang, Mohenjo-daro, and Harappa coming together. So let's bring out a question for you all. If you had to choose, if you were just had to focus on 3 main topics out of Unit 0, what would you choose? So if you had to focus on 3 main topics that you had to choose out of Unit 0, what would you choose? So go ahead and put those in the chat box. For me right now, I'm putting a tremendous focus on the Paleolithic versus Neolithic. We're going into the ancient river valley civilizations, and then we're jumping over into the classical era and bringing in all the classical civilizations. Yes, so Mesoamerica, Rome, and China. Classic. I can definitely understand that those are 3 great choices that you could put. Any other people want to chime in? So again, yes, so social stratification, absolutely. Empire and religion. So you want to understand social structure and how people fit into that. You also want to understand empire. What resources does it take for empire? What are the benefits of an empire? What are the drawbacks? What are the costs? And then religion. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing. Let's keep moving on. All right. So now let's look at how to integrate Unit 0 into your course. So first, you want to determine the number of days that are available in your school year. Now, this can vary depending on when you start. Some people, I know you've been taking a break in the summer, but your school starts up in the summer. Other people, you're looking at about mid-August for a startup. Others of us, you might be looking at Labor Day or right after Labor Day as your startup time. So sit down and figure out those days. And we're going to give you an example for that. Second, allot 2 to 3 weeks for review before the AP World History exam. Okay, so we know that's, go ahead and peg that date in there. And then third, every AP World History Modern unit, you've got 9 of them. Give 10 to 13 days so that you can do the full unit, review for the test, take the test, and then remediation if necessary. Okay? So again, first, determine the days. Second, allot 2 to 3 weeks for reviewing before the AP World exam. Third, you have 9 new units in AP World Modern, 10 to 13 days for each. Again, it's all about timing. So you can see my clock there. Let's go ahead and take you to a sample scheduling for Unit 0. For instance, I have a middle August start to the school. So we started on the August, I believe it was August 12th. Yep, my calendar says August 12th. So that's when we started off. After a couple days of prepping, we just jumped right in. So 3 weeks for Unit 0. It's about a 13 to 14 day block. So for us, once Labor Day hits, we're actually going to go into about 15, 16 days. We might have to contract that though, because in Florida right now, we've got we're projected with the path right now. It's a possibility we might have a Cat 3 hurricane running through us. So that's a different story. So 3 weeks for Unit 0, 13 to 14 days. And then you're looking, I planned Unit 1 AP Modern to come in after Labor Day. All things going well. So what I'm budgeting is 113 to 140 days for the 9 different units at AP Modern. Okay, 10 to 13 days apiece. If you're able to move through a unit in 10, 11 days, great. But if you need all 13, budget that in for yourself. Then the AP World exam, there is no negotiation on this. We know the date. My understanding is that this is May 14th, 2020. So that's non-negotiable. So that is your point. So whenever that AP exam date is, you go back 2 to 3 weeks, and that's your cutoff point, and you go into review no matter where you are. Okay? So now let's suppose you have a start date that's later. You're going to use the same formula, including your total number of available instructional days before the exam. For instance, let's suppose you start Labor Day. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my calendar, and we'll plan this out. So Labor Day, of course, Monday the 2nd, September the 3rd. So let's suppose you're doing September the 3rd, you start school. By the 5th, on September 5th, on Thursday, you're able to get in there. So you would spend the first 3 weeks on Unit 0. So you're looking at part of that first week up through the 6th, then the 9th through the 13th, the 16th through the 20th, and then probably about the 25th, 26th, you can stop. If you need to, go through the 27th, which is a Friday in September. That is a good start for Unit 0. Then you're going to break down about 113 to 140 days. Now with a later start, you're probably going to have to push more towards 113 days. So take 113 days, divide by 9 units, and make sure you're budgeting a little bit of wiggle room in there, because you're probably going to need some remediation. This is not easy stuff. AP Modern is a tough course. So, and then when you get, let's take you to May. So let me pull out my calendar, and we're looking at May the 14th. So we're going to go back to the 7th of May, then to April the 29th. By April 20th, 2020, that's when you should be stopping and going into full review mode. So 2 to 3 weeks. So that would be a sample one. The whole purpose of this is just to be able to show you exactly how you can adjust this. So again, 3 weeks for Unit 0, depending on whenever you start. You begin Unit 1 AP Modern after Labor Day. 113 to 140 days, pace it out. But before you set out that pacing day, go to 2 to 3 weeks for review. Ideally 14 to 15 days. If you have to compress it to 2 weeks, then you do what you got to do. But 14 to 15, I would start from May 14th, 2020 and work backward 14 to 15 instructional days. And know that the AP World Exam on May 14th, 2020, non-negotiable. So by then, you're done. So that is a setup that you would go to. So before we start wrapping things up a bit, are there any questions about that sample scheduling and how it would apply to you if you're starting Labor Day, or if you do a staggered where you're in school for about 3 months and then you take off 2 to 3 weeks? So let's go ahead and look at our chat column, make sure everything is spot on, see if there are any questions out there. Let me know, give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. If you got a question, pop it in there and we'll run with it. So actually, let me check my question areas as well. And we're looking pretty good here. Also, just a reminder to continue, you can always go to Think Fiveable, and we're going to continue to have all kinds of mainstreams that are coming up for AP World teachers. AP Classroom is tomorrow, and we're going to be teaching on the global Middle Ages 1 week from today, which is actually Wednesday, the 28th. So if you go 1 week from today, which let me grab my delightful calendar here, we are looking at September 4th for teaching the global Middle Ages. So definitely look for that. Thursday, August 29th, we're having AP Classroom, which this is an incredible tool. So we've got a Top Gun expert coming on. So come and join us at Think Fiveable. You can also check us out for reminders in that on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. By the way, here's my contact information. I'm Donald Diorto, and I am an AP World History and World History Honors teacher. I'm in Orlando, Florida. And here's my email. You're very welcome to email me with any questions, comments, anything like that. Also, we've got the App Fiveable Subject AP World History course outline that just was popped in there. And I am actually going to drop in there right now. I'm going to go ahead and pop in a link to the presentation. So hold on just a moment. Let's get you a shareable link for that. There we go. Done. Let's get that shareable link and pop it in for you. Here we go. So if you want to go over this cast anytime you want, there it is. We just go ahead and entered it in, so you can use that anytime that you'd like. And with that, we're really wrapping up for this evening. So I'm Donald Diorto. I'm an AP World History and World History Honors teacher with Fiveable. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you to everybody that's joined us this evening. I appreciate you joining us. You can play the replay at any time. And if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. I'll have it open for a few minutes, and I'll be checking back on it. So again, whether you're watching this on replay or whether you watched it live, thank you for joining us on Fiveable. Be sure to join us tomorrow for AP World AP Classroom, and be sure to join us next week when we're teaching the global Middle Ages. It's going to be a lot of fantastic content aligned with AP Modern. So have a great evening, everybody, and thanks for joining me. Bye.